Oh, he's a frozen treat with an all-new taste, because he came to this planet from outer space. A refugee of an interstellar war, that he's now at your local grocery store. Cookie Cat, he's a pet for your tummy. Cookie Cat, he's super duper yummy. What? We're recording? Edit this out.
Sure, I'll get right on that, no problem.
Let's begin. Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Brilliant IdiotBox. Today we are going to be talking about Steven Universe Episode 1, Gym Glow. For the record, Steven Universe was created by Rebecca Sugar and marks the first cartoon created for Cartoon Network by a female creator. Rebecca Sugar based Steven Universe on her childhood. This includes creating some of the settings, such as Beach City, based on real places, her family vacation when she was a child. The main character, Steven Universe, is based on Rebecca Sugar's own brother, Steven Sugar. So what's it about? Well, Steven Universe is a show about a boy named Steven. Seems pretty obvious, I guess. But after that, it gets really complicated. Steven is being raised by his three aunts that were friends and followers of Steven's mother, Rose Quartz. Their names are Pearl, Garnet, Amethyst, and along with Steven, they make up the Crystal Gems. Alien gems from another world that are trapped on Earth. They're all that's left of a rebellion led by Rose Quartz to stop the Diamond Authority from destroying the Earth and all the plants and animals that are on it. Steven's mother, Rose, died so that Steven could be born. She had to sacrifice herself because he needed her gem to live. Now, the Crystal Gems hunt down corrupted gems that act like monsters, and they put them in bubbles for safety. When we start, poor Steven is still trying to learn how to activate the powers of his gem, and that is where we begin. First, facts to astound. First, in the episode Gym Glow, there's an advertisement for Steven's favorite ice cream treat, Cookie Cat. Originally, the beat of Cookie Cat rap was actually created on an old Game Boy. Pretty innovative way to use a Game Boy, I guess. Another fact is, if one looks closely, we can see that a recurring TV show in a TV show, the animated Crying Breakfast Friends, one of Steven's favorites, is airing on Steven's TV when he gets home. Now, you'll realize, if you watch the show for a while, the characters on the Crying Breakfast Friends come to represent characters on Steven Universe. And sometimes, what is happening on Crying Breakfast Friends foretells some of the stuff that happens in the show later on. Another fact is when Steven opens the freezer and you see all the Cookie Cats, there's also a glow bracelet inside the freezer. The bracelet will be the same one he will give to Connie in the episode Bubble Buddies. Another fact, in Steven and the Stevens, multiple Stevens travel back in time to the ending of the episode Gym Glow during the part where Steven gets sick from eating too many of the Cookie Cats. Another fact, that the Crystal Temple that we see on the show was originally referred to as the Crystal Palace in the pilot episode, and it could be a reference to a famous English exhibition hall of the same name. Now, about the episode. Okay, so I went back and I rewatched this, and it was pretty interesting knowing some of the stuff I know now. Well into Season 5, about some of the twists of the story and everything. It was kind of interesting to go back and take a look at. So the first official episode is Gym Glow. I mean, there was a pilot, and you can still see it on like YouTube, but the look of a lot of the characters was very different, and the name of their base and stuff was changed before the new episode, or before the first official episode. Really, this is considered the first episode. When the episode starts, we see Steven, and he's at a local establishment called the Big Donut, Beach City's premier donut shop. Steven is very upset when he finds out they discontinued his favorite ice cream treat, Cookie Cat. He's very sad and distraught. But then we get our first look at Steven's friend, Sadie Miller, who along with Lars Barriga work the counter at the Big Donut. Sadie Miller is voiced by comedian Kate Micucci, and Lars is voiced by Matthew Moy. So we first get to see some of the characters. Here we get our first look at the characters, and we kind of learn a little bit about them. We see Lars displaying his "I don't care, just leave me alone" attitude. Sadie, on the other hand, she tries to be kind and good and help everybody, especially Steven. So Steven is so disappointed, and Lars is totally ignoring him and wanting him to leave. Sadie tries to be kind to Steven and suggests he might like another ice cream treat like Lion Lickers. Lion Lickers is probably a hint forward. Steven Universe is very well known for hints forward, and eventually there's a character introduced called Lion who belongs to Steven, and so this could be our first hint towards him. Just like Crying Breakfast Friends, we will eventually we'll get to see also a character named Ronaldo Fryman He has a Keep Beach City Weird blog, and almost every time in his blog, all of his predictions and stuff, even though they're sort of off, they somehow all come true. It's just like it is one of the things that Steven Universe has become well known for. So when you watch the episodes, you always want to look for stuff because they usually will come back, which is always one of my favorite things about Steven Universe. So at this point, Steven says he hates lion liquors. I mean, he really despises them.
Bits, man, nobody buys them anymore. I guess they couldn't compete with lion liquors.
Ugh, not lion liquors. Nobody likes them. They don't even look like lions. Kids these days, I'll tell you.
Lars sarcastically tells Steven to go make more cookie cats with his magic belly button. And Steven says, well, that's not how it works. But Steven's not exactly sure if that's how it works or not. I mean, he doesn't really know how his power works at all. So we're now introduced to the concept that Steven can't activate his powers. This is something he wants to learn to do, and he has learned to do. And so it's one of the early running themes in the show. About several of the first few episodes are about Steven trying to figure out how his powers work and get some kind of control over them. So as Lars says, we're going to make more of this magic belly button. We see Steven lift his shirt and it reveals his gem. And he just stares at it. Of course, it doesn't do anything. Then Steven is so sad and say he doesn't know how to help him. She wants to try to make him feel a little better. So she gives him the Cookie Cat freezer, this especially made advertisement for the Cookie Cats. And Steven takes the freezer and he runs home to tell the gems about how Cookie Cat's been discontinued. He's so upset and distraught. So when Steven arrives home, he is instantly attacked by these small centipede-looking creatures. And we come to find out that those are known as centipedals. And this is the first mention of the recurring character centipedal. So then we get our first look at Steven's guardians, his teachers, his aunts. They're Garnet, Pearl, and Amethyst. Garnet, the leader. Pearl is an obsessive neat freak who's very good with a weapon. So in Amethyst, everybody says she's more like an aunt, but I really, at the beginning, saw her more of like an older sister because she's just as goofy and just as irresponsible as Steven is. And she likes to be gross. It just kind of doesn't necessarily fit into a guardian. Because they also, Garnet and Pearl also seem to be her guardian too at the beginning. And she's quite a bit younger and has had less experience than they have. So when we get to see them, they're poofing the mini centipedals. Steven sees one of the centipedals and Steven, being Steven, he decides he'd like to keep one as a pet. And this is the first time we really see Steven's empathy. That's something he becomes well known for, and it's a big part of his character. It seems to have something to do with his powers also, as his powers tend to run off his feelings. Steven would always rather find another way besides violence, anytime he can. Sometimes he even puts himself in danger, or it makes a lot of trouble for himself. While he's trying to not be violent or destructive. He's trying not to kill or harm any being. Okay, so they're fighting the mini centipedals, and they're poofing them, and it turns out there's no gems being left behind as there would be with normal corruption. So Garnet mentions that there must be a mother somewhere near. Now I wanted to bring this up. I mean, this is the only time I think we've ever mentioned there being a mother. I didn't know if maybe the centipedal can clone herself or make hologram versions, kind of like Pearl does. But a mother of these like gem creatures is never mentioned again with any of the other corruptions, or it's never mentioned again as any other powers that any of the gems might have. So and really a mother isn't a concept that's familiar to the gems because they don't actually have mothers. They're born from the earth. As the crystal gems have lived on Earth for thousands of years, it's very well possible that they have become familiar with the concept of a mother. And after Steven's birth, even more so. So there is a good metaphor here for the light and dark nature of the show. When I think about what Steven Universe is and what it means, this is kind of the one visual I kind of go back to. Here we see Pearl fighting one of the centipedals. And at the same time, she's trying to be motherly to Steven. She's trying to give him good advice. She's trying to make him feel better. But while she's doing this and fighting the centipedal, she suddenly breaks his neck like it's nothing, and then the centipedal poofs.
Somewhere nearby.
We should probably find it before anyone gets hurt.
Ooh, can I come? Can I?
Steven, until you learn to control the powers in your gem, we'll take care of protecting humanity. Okay?
To me, that's sort of the whole thing of the show. It's so sweet and saccharine in one hand, then all of a sudden it just can be just violent and shatteringly just dark. And it can be, dark on the other hand. I think this is just like a perfect metaphor, for the show itself. So after the fight, they take Steven to the kitchen. After the fight's over, and Steven tells him how upset he is about his cookie cat. And so the crystal gems take Steven into the kitchen. They open the freezer and show him that they have bought all the cookie cats they could find. This conversation gives us a perfect example of each of the gems' personalities here. At first, Amethyst says, "We stole them." This shows her impulsive, reckless nature. Then Pearl says, "I went back and paid for them." That shows her obsessive-compulsive, kind of do-gooder side. Then Garnet says, It was my idea, showing that Garnet is thoughtful and forward-looking, and that's why she's the leader. Steven is so happy. He is just overjoyed and starts to sing the Cookie Cat jingle. The jingle itself lives up to the other foreshadowing parts, because it kind of mirrors the Crystal Gem story. It includes being from outer space and being refugees from interstellar war, and the gems are kind of yummy. Or is it just me? Oh well. Steven takes a bite, and suddenly his gem starts to glow for the first time. Then we have a good case of the fallacy called post hoc ergo propter hoc. Something happens before, so that causes a thing after. A lot of times that's just not true. We see a good example of that here. Steven took a bite of Cookie Cat, and thus his powers activated. Therefore, Cookie Cat activates his gem powers. Or at least that's what Steven believes. Quickly, Steven's gem power fades, and he can't recreate it. So each of the crystal gems takes a turn trying to help him learn how to tap into his powers and activate his gem. So we find that they each have a different way of activating their powers, which also hints at their personalities. First we have Pearl. She calls her spear. She watches leaves falling from her favorite tree, sort of dancing in the wind on their way to the ground. So her method involves concentration, dance, things that Pearl herself does often. And then we got Amethyst. When Steven asked Amethyst how does she call her weapon, Amethyst gives the answer, it just happens. I mean, this is the I get what I need when I need it, or this is the I do what I want nature of Amethyst's personality. She doesn't overtry. I mean, this is Amethyst's personality. She's easygoing and stuff just happens, and that's just how she likes it. On the other hand, then we see Garnet. Garnet says she links with the forces of the universe and channels the universe's power, and that activates her gem. So Garnet is the balance between the two. She's rational, calm, and she has intuition. She is balanced, whereas Pearl is uptight and rigid, and Amethyst is just chaotic. So Garnet is the thing that stands between them. Garnet is the thing that lets them work together. She is their balance. So if we were to look at Sigmund Freud's structural model of the psyche, we would have the id, superego, and ego. You have Amethyst, who does whatever she wants when she wants, and she would be the id. She does whatever she feels like when she feels like it without thinking about the consequences. Then you have Pearl, who is the superego. Pearl has a rigid way that she functions and puts certain rules on herself, as long as they make her life harder. I mean, she can't just seem to let go and just enjoy herself and have fun. She has to always be there taking care of everything. Then you have Garnet. She's the ego. She is the balancing force that makes the team work. By this, I mean she keeps Amethyst from running headlong into danger as much as she can. She keeps the superego, Pearl, from overthinking everything. Pearl would almost never get anything done until she absolutely had to, because she would always be overthinking it. Steven asks Garnet, which of these is the right way to activate my powers? Garnet answers, yes. And the truth is, because there is no right or wrong way. Each gem has its own way to activate their power. This just confuses Steven more than ever. Steven just feels down and he's not sure what to do. Steven remembers what happened. Steven remembers how it activated the first time. It was Cookie Cat. Steven had taken a bite of a Cookie Cat and his powers activated. So all Steven has to do is eat another Cookie Cat and it'll activate his powers again. So Steven not only eats a Cookie Cat, but he has to recreate the moment perfectly. He forces the gems to go back to the same place they were standing when it happened. And of course the gems, being good caretakers, they humor Steven. They encourage Steven to try to summon his powers, and they never get down on him when he can. So they're always trying to be encouraging. So Steven takes a bite of the Cookie Cat and his gem starts to glow again. This time a shield even forms, and Steven gets happier that the shield shoots and flies around the room. Steven is just overjoyed and happy and excited, but in doing so, the shield destroys several things in the room, including Steven's TV set. And of course, the wanton destruction of all this makes Amethyst laugh. She seems overly happy about just the destruction, as Amethyst would. So while there's the red herring that Steven's powers are tied to the Cookie Cat, we are starting to see that Steven's powers are really tied to his emotions. The Cookie Cat made him feel warm and happy. When he feels warm and happy, this activates his gem and activates his shield. Really, I mean, as you watch the show, you find out Steven is an emotionally driven character, and everything about him ties back to this. I mean, we see that that's the way he activates several of his powers as the show goes on, and that's the way he relates to everybody. As I mentioned earlier, that's how he tries to avoid violence, is by appealing to their emotions and trying to make them happy. And it seems to work most of the time for Steven for some reason that isn't explained till later, and I won't spoil that for you right now on this one. So now, with Steven in turmoil as how to activate his powers, this is the time that the mother centipedal attacks. This is a character we will come to know as Centipedal later on in the show, but the Centipedal is gigantic compared to the earlier ones. And this one's violent, and the crystal gems try to fight, but they start losing ground quickly, and they end up having to run and hide from the centipedal as the centipedal spits. As the centipedal spits gallons of acid from her mouth, and then she attacks them with her tail. They're forced to hide behind the giant hand that is falling away from the temple. Steven, then knowing exactly what to do to activate his powers, grabs the Cookie Cat's an extension cord and the Cookie Cat icebox. He runs to help, but he eats a Cookie Cat and it doesn't work. I mean, Steven is scared. He's terrified. I mean, mostly not even for himself, but for the crystal gems, for his guardians. How's he gonna protect them if he can't even activate his powers? So he tries eating more and more and more of the Cookie Cats, but to no avail. His powers, they don't activate. The gems are desperate and in trouble. They cannot get out of the situation that they're in. He knows he has the help. He's the only one that can. So Steven goes with plan B. He attempts to distract the Centipedal. It doesn't work. The wires on the fridge become exposed. So in desperation, Steven throws the freezer at the Centipedal. The exposed wires hit and shock Centipedal. This gives the crystal gems the opening they need. They attack and show their fighting skills. They're able to overcome Centipedal and bubble her. This is the first time we actually see him getting bubbled and sent to the temple. Well, this is the first time we see the process of them bubbling a gem and sending it back to the temple. So after Centipedal is sent to the temple, they talk about Steven's powers and how they don't talk about Steven's powers and finally tell him the truth and how they don't come from a delicious ice cream snack. Pearl tells Steven that he will figure it out, that he will soon be able to access his powers in his own Steven-y way. And eventually she's right. Steven does figure out that his powers are tied to his emotions and how to summon them. I mean, using your emotions to summon your powers, nothing could be more Steven-y than that. So then the episode ends with Steven becoming sick as all the other characters stand around him and laugh. But I just want to say, going back and watching this, really the thing I love about the show is pretty much everything about the show. I mean, I love how saccharine it is sometimes, and it can be dark, and then I love how the show foreshadows the future and everything, and you kind of see it, but you have to kind of guess how it fits in. And I love that. I love the creator, Rebecca Sugar. I love the voice actors. I think they've chosen some amazing voice actors. Some people I already loved before they were ever on the show. The writing is great, the twists, the characters. But I guess when it comes down to it, the thing I love most is the tone of the show. The saccharine sweetness to the bitter twists. There's an internet meme that kind of perfectly sums up Steven Universe. It says, in the first episode, Steven's favorite cookie is discontinued. Season 5, Episode 1. Steven's on trial for regicide. I mean, that's it. You go from him worrying about a cookie to him standing trial in his mother's place for her murdering Pink Diamond. I mean, 1 minute's a cutesy cartoon, and the next minute it hits you right in the gut. I'm watching the new episodes. I love them too. I love the twists and turns and how they're finally starting to spread out and tell all the secrets from the beginning and all the stuff they've set up for 5 years to tell. It's really amazing. I mean, I've hated the way Cartoon Network has done the show. How it releases them in spurts and then doesn't release them on a good schedule, doesn't release them on the network, releases on apps, leaks them early, leaks out secrets early. But ultimately, for all that, the show has still managed to do a great job of keeping you interested, keeping me interested. I'm going to watch every episode as Cartoon Network sees fit to release them, or even if they accidentally release them like they have numerous times in the past. Whatever the case is, I love the show, and it seems like more and more people are finding the show, and I'm really, really happy about that because the show deserves to be watched. And I think people who come on now are kind of lucky because they get to see it all at once. They get to watch it unfold quickly. They don't have to wait the years and years that the rest of us have been waiting. Okay, well, that's pretty much the first episode. On the next video, I'm going to be jumping forward quite a ways forward to the current episodes. Well, I'll be jumping forward to the more current episodes from Season 5. The episodes Can't Go Back and The Single Pale Rose. I've covered the basics on this one, so I think I should be able to just get down to the stories and how I feel about them. I don't think I should have to go into a lot of details, but I have to tell you, there's definitely going to be spoilers, especially if you've just watched the first episode of the first season. It's going to be a lot different, so spoiler warning on the next episode. I just want to say here that I'm just beginning this. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do the episodes. If you have any recommendations, I would really like to hear them. You can put them in the comments or email them to me. I'll include both those here at the end of the video, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I'd like to say a big thanks to everyone for watching my video. Please feel free to leave a comment on what you'd like to see more of, or changes you'd like to see made. If you liked the video, please go to my Patreon page and support me so that I can continue to make videos. And if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe down at the bottom of the page, and click the little bell to notify you when I post new videos. Thank you very much.